Hello and good evening to all of you. So now this is the day 7 for daily answer writing program for history optional. Now let's see what is the question of today. Today's question was how far Megasthenes Indica can be accessed as a source of Indian history. Now this question is very similar to the question what we had discussed in the last day. So in the last day the question was that how far the foreign accounts are helping us to write the history of ancient India, and this question is precisely dealing with Megasthenes, right? So let's discuss the answer of this question. So when you have been discussing the answer of this question, in the introduction you should try to provide some basic details of Megasthenes, that he was sent as an ambassador by Seleucus Nicator in the court of Chandragupta Maurya, and then he stayed in India for 3.5 years, and after returning from India, this person wrote or this person compiled his memoir, which is known as Indica, right? That's how you can frame this introduction. And when it comes to now the body part, now in the body part, it should be divided into 2-3 parts again. So in the body parts, first of all we need to write that what sort of informations are being provided by Indica. So political, we can divide it, we can classify the information into couple of categories such as geographical information, political information, economic information, social information, cultural information, right? These are various things that could be divided, it should be divided in this way. Then it comes to dealing with certain beauties of Megasthenes Indica, that how come this has been proved to be a very beautiful source of Indian history. And then towards the end, in the third part of the body, you need to discuss about basically that what limitations are there with this particular text Indica, and then finally it comes to the conclusion. So after the introduction, when it comes to body part, so in the first part we'll be providing information as I told you in various classified categories. So first of all we'll be discussing about the political information. So undoubtedly Indica proves to be a very good information on the political history or the history of Mauryan Empire, because it is providing the information on king, right, king's role, then it is dealing with the bureaucracy, right, the administration and various administrative posts, and that's how it is beautifully covering the information about the Mauryan court precisely. The second thing we can talk about basically is the military organization and city administration. These are two unique things which are being discussed in being discussed in Indica. So when it comes to the city administration, it is talking about how come there was a there were few committees, and every committee had been handling one particular or one specific department. In the same way for the military, he had been writing that how come the military was how come the military was also being maintained by some committees, and every committee was in charge of a particular thing. So these kind of political information it has been providing. Moving to next, we can talk about the geographical information. I think it is one of the earliest texts which is dealing with the geography of India at that point of time beautifully. It is giving information about the various geographical conditions of India, that includes the various mountains, the rivers, right? And apart from that, it is even giving the description of various floras and faunas. That's how we can say it is one of the such texts available in India at that point of time, which was somehow giving a good insight on the in the geography. Next, we can talk about the social structure and the customs of India is also being provided. So when it comes to social customs and social structures and the customs, so it is dealing with the Varna system, it is dealing with the caste system, it is also dealing with certain such institutions such as slavery and all, and in fact rest of the sources cannot be that much beautiful, or that cannot be reliable the way the way Indica is dealing with it, and that's how we can say social informations are also being provided. Then it comes to economic information. In the economic information precisely we need to talk about two different areas, and what are they? One is agriculture. So Indica is providing good information on agriculture, what sort of crops were being produced in India. In fact it has even dealt with the condition of peasantry at that point of time. Apart from this, it is also talking about the trade and commerce, specifically what were the various cities. So we can say urbanization was being discussed, the various cities have been discussed by him. Then apart from that, what was the condition of trade, how come West was connected with India at that point of time, that was also being discussed. So this is how it has been providing so many information about the economy of that period and various economic institution as well. Then it comes to the cultural or the religious observation. So Indica has discussed about the various religious religious cults and the sects and the religions itself, like which are there at that point of time. So it has given a good description. In fact, it has given good description of various philosophies which were present in India at that point of time. So that's how, like in fact, there is a comparison which is made by him between Greek religions and the Indian religions, the comparison between the Greek gods and the Indian gods. So these kind of comparison in the religion, and in fact the philosophical comparisons have been also made by him, and that's how it is providing us so many, like so many valuable information that definitely help us in writing the history. Now, in coming to the second part, there we need to talk about basically what are the beauties of this. So when it comes to Indica, that's the best part of the Indica is that Indica is somehow providing information based on the practical observations. So of course, like while staying in India for 3.5 years, whatsoever he observed, like he had been providing information on them. The second beauty is this, that there are so many areas on what the Indian sources are more or less silent. They are not providing like information on that, such as I did tell you about the city administration, right? So no other source is providing information on that. On the other hand, we can talk about such as army management. That's a very unique like sort of thing what he had provided. And apart from that, we can talk about the court conspiracies which were there. So these court conspiracies, since he had been staying in court, and that's why he has presented like the information in a very good way. Apart from this also, we can say that there are certain areas which are like very negligible by the Indian scholars, and that he has covered, such as the geographical condition of India, the flora, the fauna, and all these kind of things. That's how like it is proving to be very good source for Indian history. But then of course we cannot talk about like it is free from the limitations. Undoubtedly it is like having so many limitations also, and while using them while writing history, every historian needs to be quite careful for this. So the first and the foremost importance of this, like foremost limitation of this particular source is that when he is returning from India after so many years, like the compilation was coming. And since there was a good gap between his return to Greekland and then the compilation, so that has created a sort of lacuna, or that can be treated as a lacuna. The second thing, the second important lacuna, that it was, when it comes to Indica, in Indica, the original version of Indica is not available. So basically, Indica was referred by some other contemporary or late authors, and that's the reason because of what it is available to us as a secondary source rather than as a primary source. The third important lacuna, that is it is considered that even Indica was not precisely based on observation. Being a court ambassador, or being an ambassador, this person had limitation. He could not visit to various places, and that's why he has been providing the information mostly on the basis of what he was learning, or what he was getting or hearing from somebody else. And that's why when it is said it was mostly based on hearsay, that won't be incorrect to say. Apart from that, the cultural biases were also there, because he has tried to see everything with a Greek perspective. Apart from that, the mythical presentation of India could be also noticed, such as the gold, the end. He has discussed about he has discussed about the ants who were searching for the gold, or else the way he is giving the wrong description, such as there were 7 castes in India, there was no slavery available present in India, there was no famine present in India. So these are various things which were basically based on the wrong observation. So that's how we can say there are certain limitations as well of this particular text. When it comes to the historians, for in the conclusion, so you can quote Romila Thapar, A.L. Bossum, Thomas Trotman, and Vincent Arthur Smith, and more or less everybody is saying same thing, that actually there are certain limitations with this text, and that's why while using them in writing history, every historian needs to be very cautious, and they must be juxtaposed with the other available sources, and that's how they could reach to the more accurate history. So that's how in the end you have to write about the limitations, and by writing about the limitations at the end you'll be writing, even though it seems to be a very good source, because it is highlighting those areas which are ignored by the other contemporary authors, and that's how Megasthenes Indica seems to be a very good and important source for ancient Indian history, precisely the Mauryan period. That's it. Thank you.